I wonder if you knew that could be used in reference to carrot cake, black or white. Michael Jackson here on 1FM 91.3, Good Times, Greatest Hits. Good morning to you and welcome to the Brightside. Carol, Lavinia and Shehzad with you. And joining us here in the studio this morning, the cast of Matilda the Musical. We are chatting with resident director Natalie Gilhome as well as dance captain Michael Gardiner. Good morning and welcome you guys.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So guys, before we get off to the what we want to talk to you about, why don't you tell us, Michael, what is a dance captain?
So, as a dance captain, it's my job to oversee the overall dance and choreography on the show and maintain the vision of the original creative team and make sure the show looks great and exciting every single night.
And how would you differentiate that from, say, a choreographer?
So our original choreographers, Peter Darling and Ellen Kane, came up with the whole concept, choreographed the whole show, and that show has been pretty much the same for the past 13 years. And it's my job to make sure what you're seeing on stage here in Singapore is exactly the same as what you're seeing in London's West End.
Wonderful. All right, so can you tell us in your own words, maybe Natalie, since you're the resident director, what Matilda the Musical is all about?
Good triumphing over evil, I think, is the byline. It's about a little girl with special gifts that inspires all around her actually to right any wrong that they see, and I think it's such a beautiful message for everyone in the world, young or old, to kind of know and come and see this small girl on stage eventually overcoming one of the big hurdles in her life and kind of walking out thinking, gosh, maybe I can do that with just a small step it takes to then, cause a revolution.
I love that.
I think it's going to be really empowering for all the little girls in the audience, to see this musical. But here's the thing, I grew up reading so many of Roald Dahl's books. This one in particular is one of my favorites. How does the musical bring to life this very beloved, Roald Dahl story?
I agree about the book. It's so inspiring. And to me, like, Roald Dahl wrote that when he was, I think, 72 years of age. And the fact that he can write from a 5-year-old girl's perspective is so beautiful. And I think you get that from the musical as well. You kind of understand everyone, all the design, all the storytelling is told through Matilda's eyes in a way. So you're kind of transported back to your you will feel like you did when you read the book. There's so many of the same concepts and the same themes around that you feel it literally, they use a lot of Quentin Blake was the illustrator of the book, and they use kind of, you feel like you're sometimes looking at that world as well, illustrations from the book. And so it's a really beautiful active adaptation of the original source material, the book.
I do hear from, people already commenting because the gala night was just over, I think just last night, and everyone is commenting about how every element of the production is just so whimsical, so beautiful. You've got your stage production, the costumes, the cast, everything. So, plenty to enjoy with this musical, I think.
I'm sure Roald Dahl would have been very proud of the musical. And I wonder if he was inspired by his daughter as well, Sophie, who's married to Jamie Cullum. The singer, his granddaughter, married to Jamie Cullum. She's such a beautiful creature as well. We're going to go live on Facebook, facebook.com/1FM91.3 to continue this chat with Natalie and Michael. Join us there. Hey everyone, welcome to the Brightside.
So we're talking with Natalie Gilhome, the resident director, and Michael Gardiner, the dance captain of the musical Matilda that's going on right now at the Sands Theatre up till the first weekend of April. Guys, what were the challenges of bringing this iconic Roald Dahl book to life on stage? Both of you, maybe give us different perspectives.
Oh God, I don't even know how it all started 13 years ago, but I have no idea how they came up with all these incredibly imaginative and creative and clever ideas. If you come and watch, there are so many fantastic moments in the show that God knows how they created those. Things like people climbing on gates and intricate blocks coming through the... It's madness. It really is like crazy.
Do you have a favourite scene?
I have to say, there's a gates number where there's these 2 boys and at times there's 6 of them climbing all over these gates, and every time I watch it I am blown away.
Wow.
Still, after seeing it so many times, it is so clever and so creative and so exciting. There is a risk element to it which is so exciting to watch.
What about you, Natalie, from a directing point of view?
So I think one of the most important things I ever heard Matthew Warchus, the original director, say. Just really interesting because they did 3 or 4 workshops of the original musical when they were developing it with the Royal Shakespeare Company. And originally it was all adults, so it was young adults playing the children, and they got to a point where they just thought, let's just try it. Let's see what happens if it's a young girl. And the show had already been written, so it was the lyrics and the script were written with adults in mind speaking. So they didn't change that once they did eventually kind of go with that decision of a young girl playing the role. So, you know, the vocabulary that this young girl uses in the show, and, you know, it is still what you would expect adults to say. And so I think it's really interesting in their journey of the vision. They kind of were looking at adults playing Matilda and Bruce and Eric, and then got to a point where they're like, no, there's something very special about seeing a very young girl stand up to a fully grown adult in Miss Trunchbull. So it was like, it would have been a really like aha moment, I think, in their creative discovery workshopping this show to say, okay, it's going to be harder, it's going to be more costly, obviously, for you know, they think about all that stuff down the road, but I think it was the most, you know, it was a genius decision, obviously, because there's been over 100 girls in the world play this role, I think, you know, and they're extraordinary. You know, it's still, Michael says, the gates blows. The fact that there's a young girl that leads our adult company through, it just blows me away every night.
Would you say there was some pressure on you to direct this award-winning musical? I mean, it's won so many awards.
Yeah.
Was there some added expectation on your shoulders?
I think anyone that is in this position or Michael's position, you know, you do feel a great responsibility to and an obligation to the original creators, because it is it's not your creation. You have to understand that it's not come from your brain. Your job is to make sure their creative vision is maintained really well and as true and authentically as it can be. So yeah, there absolutely is a responsibility, and the show has to come first. You know, sometimes that is a hard thing, but yeah, you have to always make sure that the overriding idea is that the show is authentic to what they needed.
So we've heard from Michael what his favorite part of the musical is. What is yours, Natalie?
I think one of my favourite parts is the top of Act 2 when they sing When I Grow Up.
Oh.
And I'm not going to give it away, but it is a really beautiful, joyous moment in the show. But also the lyrics to that song that Tim Minchin wrote is just so, they're so special. They're so layered in that, like, the kids, they're dreaming about the future and they're dreaming about what an ideal world would be. And something like, I would eat sweets on the way to work every day. You're like, when you're an adult, you don't do that. But as a kid, you're like, that would be the best thing in the world to do. And
they can identify with that, right?
Yeah. And there's a really whimsical kind of, the lyrics are really wonderful to that.
Yeah. And the audience reaction is great. You hear like the kids watch it and go, wow, wow, wow. And then you hear the adults reminisce about those same thoughts they had as a child. It's really beautiful.
Is there a moment that you look forward to every evening from the audience? Because you know it's going to get that reaction.
I guess When I Grow Up is one of those moments where
it is.
Just after the interval we bring everyone back together. You can feel an intake
of breath when in this moment in the show, and it kind of the choreography actually lifts off stage. You know, you feel that kind of, and you feel the audience around you just.
That's magical.
It is. It's really intangible. You can't put your finger on, but there's a collective sense of wow, and it's lovely. Yeah.
And there's also an increase in sweet sales for adults the next day as they eat sweets to work.
Yes, Can you imagine the snack store outside? Like, suddenly during the intermission, great demand for candy.
I think it's really great that, Natalie, you brought up the fact that a lot of the cast, you know, they're children playing all of these roles. And in fact, we're going to jump on air very soon. We've got some questions about what is it like working with such a young cast, you know, even for yourself, taking them through the choreography night after night. We're going to find out all the details. Give us a lowdown. Right here on 1FM. With What Have I Done to Deserve This here on the Brightside. Hey, good morning, everyone.
We are chatting. Is that a new word? We're chatting with Natalie Gilhome as well as Michael Gardiner, the resident director and dance captain from Matilda the Musical, which is now happening at the Marina Bay Sands Theatre. Who should be watching Matilda the Musical, guys?
The best thing about Matilda is that it's can be seen by young and old, and there's different messages each can get. I think a wonderful thing for adults, one of the messages they get through this, I think, is that what children say is quite important, and we should listen. You know, there's something, they have a voice and they have a power, and sometimes we forget that young people have that within them. So I think sometimes we should just stop and listen.
I love that.
That's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, we wanted to talk to you about, Michael, as well, about some of the work you've had to do with the dance routines. Are they quite challenging? Like the swing routine, I believe, When I Grow Up, or the gate routine you mentioned in the school song. What, in your opinion, was the hardest part to work on?
Hardest part to work on? I mean, like you said, the gates routine is very, very complicated and takes a long time to put together. I think actually, from a dance perspective, the hardest thing to work on is the story. The dance has to have a story behind it in a musical like this. And we still spend so much time introducing those ideas, those acting ideas, to keep the story alive while we're dancing, both with kids and adults. The kids need a few more reminders, sometimes than the adults. Sometimes the adults need those as well. But yeah, keeping it alive and keeping that story moving forward.
Have people actually come to you and said, you know, I feel so re-energized as an adult watching the musical because I'm just reminded what it means to be a kid? Does that happen
that's
a lot?
it. I think it does remind you of all the childlike thoughts and ideas and kind of aspirations you have, and we just forget along the way.
Yeah.
You know, life happens, and you forget that you wanted to be a famous veterinarian, or, you know, I don't know, it might inspire you to kind of remind yourself what your ideas and goals were when you were a kid as well.
Oh, that just feels like a really magical evening, spending it with you guys. And also, it features a lot of children cast members in this wonderful musical. So for both of you, what is it like working with children, you know, for the musical? Are they easier? Are the adults easier? Tell us the truth now.
I love it. I really love it. I think we always say when the children walk in the room, they are treated like adults in the company. They come into the room and they're professionals, and we treat them that way. And so I think what we find with working with children is if you children will respond whichever way you treat them. So I think if you're expecting them to act like professional adults, they just generally get there. They just do that, and they're wonderful. They're, especially in terms of their, you know, there is so much storytelling in Matilda, so everything in Matilda has an idea behind it. They're never just saying a word or doing a dance step, and there's a lot of beautiful, wild imagination that comes from a 10-year-old child. And again, as adults, we kind of forget to do that sometimes. We censor our imagination, and we kind of it starts to dull. But you can give children information. Here's what you need to know about this scene. What do you think she's thinking? And you know, you talk about that, and then suddenly it just comes out of them. And I love it. I think it really inspires the adults around them to become more creative and playful.
Judging from the trailer that we've seen, and also feedback from our producer, the set is exceptional as well. Michael, you're opening your eyes. Can you tell us a bit more about the sets?
The set's amazing. I mean, I would recommend getting to the show a good 20-30 minutes beforehand, sitting in the auditorium and just looking. It's kind of all made of these Scrabble tiles, so it's really interesting to look at. And then the longer you look, the more you find these words hidden in all those Scrabble tiles, words that we hear in Matilda's story throughout the show.
Wow.
It's very, very clever.
What was it like as dance captain working with the kids?
It's great. I mean, like Nat said, they are wonderful. You come in every day. We have 3 little girls that play Matilda: Miley, Yolani and Donna. And you get to learn their personality, find out kind of how they are as people, and how you can channel that into a dance perspective and a storytelling perspective to get the best out of them.
Wow, amazing. Natalie and Michael, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time. We hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in Singapore, and we hope for an amazing run here. Now, Matilda the Musical is happening from now to the 7th of April, and you can grab your tickets starting from just $68 from marinabaysands.com. All the best. Break a leg.
Thank you.
Good time. Greatest hits. 1FM.